Love has a strange way of defying expectations. It does not follow the rules of logic, wealth, or appearance. It finds its way into the hearts of those who least expect it, often through the cracks in their carefully controlled lives. Alexander Morgan believed he had everything figured out. He had built his empire with discipline, intellect, and determination. He had no time for romance, no belief in emotional distractions. To him, love was a weakness, an unnecessary complication in a world driven by contracts and profit. When his father's will forced him into marriage, Alexander treated it like another business transaction, simple, structured, and temporary. He demanded a wife who would not draw attention, someone plain, practical, and forgettable. He thought that by controlling the terms, he could control the outcome. But love, as life often proves, does not follow instructions. When Sophia Chen walked into his life, she quietly dismantled every barrier he had built. She was supposed to be invisible, yet she commanded attention the moment she entered a room. She wasn't loud or demanding, but her calm confidence made people listen. Alexander had asked for simplicity, but he got depth. He had asked for obedience, but he found intellect and passion. Sophia's presence challenged him, not through arguments or defiance, but by simply being authentic. She reminded him that real beauty isn't in perfection. It's in honesty, strength, and purpose. As their story unfolded, Alexander began to see what he had been blind to for so long. All his life, he had judged people by surface impressions, by efficiency, appearance, or usefulness. But Sophia showed him that the heart of a person holds more value than any external trait. Her love for her work, her dedication to preserving history, and her compassion for others revealed a kind of beauty he couldn't ignore. In her, he found the one thing he didn't know he was missing: humanity. She didn't just fill a legal requirement. She filled the emotional void that success had never been able to touch. Their relationship became a lesson that love is not something you can design, negotiate, or predict. It grows naturally in moments of shared silence, mutual respect, and vulnerability. Alexander realized that love is not about finding someone who fits your list of demands, but someone who expands your understanding of yourself. Sophia's love didn't make him weaker. It made him complete. She didn't take away his strength. She gave it direction. Together, they discovered that connection is more powerful than control, and that love is most meaningful when it comes uninvited. By the time Alexander truly saw Sophia, not as a contract but as a person, he understood the truth his father had tried to teach him: family, compassion, and connection are the foundations of true success. In a world obsessed with status and appearances, their story stands as a reminder that love doesn't care about beauty or wealth. It cares about authenticity, and once it finds you, nothing else matters. True strength in any relationship is not measured by control or dominance, but by the ability to stand together as equals. Alexander Morgan had built his entire life around control. Every decision, every investment, every conversation was carefully managed to secure his position at the top. He believed that authority and discipline were what kept his world in order. When the terms of his father's will forced him into marriage, he treated it like another transaction. He saw a wife not as a partner, but as a requirement to maintain power. But then Sophia Chen entered his life, and for the first time, he met someone he could not control. Sophia was calm, intelligent, and quietly unyielding. She didn't fight Alexander's authority. She simply didn't need to. Her strength came from confidence, not confrontation. While Alexander was used to commanding people, Sophia operated through mutual respect. She didn't bend to his influence or seek his approval. Instead, she met him as an equal, someone capable of contributing as much as she received. At first, Alexander mistook this independence for defiance, but soon he recognized it as the very quality he had been missing in every aspect of his life. a genuine partnership. As they navigated the complexities of their arrangement, both began to understand what it meant to share strength rather than compete for it. When challenges arose, board conflicts, media scrutiny, or personal doubts, they learned to face them side by side. Sophia didn't need Alexander to save her, and Alexander discovered that he didn't need to dominate her to feel secure. Instead, their connection became built on trust, collaboration, and understanding. In the process, Alexander discovered that power is not about being in charge. It's about lifting someone up while they lift you in return. Sophia's intelligence and empathy became his greatest assets. She challenged his thinking, questioned his assumptions, and reminded him that success without compassion is hollow. In turn, Alexander provided her with resources, support, and the stability to grow her foundation's mission. Together, they achieved what neither could have accomplished alone. Through Sophia, Alexander learned the quiet power of partnership, the strength that comes not from authority, but from unity. There were moments when their balance was tested, moments when pride or fear threatened to pull them apart. Yet, each time, it was their mutual respect that brought them back. Alexander began to realize that Sophia wasn't just his wife in name or contract. She was his mirror. She reflected the man he could become, the man who leads with empathy, not ego. She showed him that vulnerability is not a weakness, but a bridge to deeper understanding. In the end, Alexander's greatest transformation was not in his wealth or influence, but in his recognition that true leadership begins in the heart. Strength is not the ability to control others. It is the courage to trust someone completely. By standing beside Sophia, he discovered that love and partnership were not obstacles to success. They were the very foundation of it. Some of the most meaningful promises in life are not written on paper, but felt in the heart. Contracts may define obligations, but love defines commitment. Alexander Morgan began his marriage with Sophia Chen as a calculated business decision, bound by strict legal terms and timelines. To him, everything in life had to be structured, measurable, and beneficial. The marriage contract was supposed to be another deal, a practical arrangement to protect his company and fulfill his father's will. Yet, as the months passed, Alexander discovered that the most powerful bonds are not created through signatures or clauses, but through trust, honesty, and emotion. At first, Alexander approached their union with cold precision. He drew boundaries, set expectations, and treated Sophia like an employee fulfilling a role. But Sophia never played the part he had written for her. She didn't try to impress or manipulate him. Instead, she remained calm, kind, and deeply human. She respected the terms of their agreement, but she also brought warmth into every corner of his structured world. Where he saw formality, she brought meaning. Where he saw business, she brought heart. Slowly, the lines of their contract began to blur, replaced by something that could never be negotiated: genuine connection. Sophia's sincerity began to change Alexander in ways he hadn't anticipated. He started to see that love isn't about control or benefit. It's about giving without calculation. Her compassion, patience, and quiet strength taught him the value of emotional honesty. For the first time, Alexander found peace in something he couldn't predict or measure. The man who once prided himself on logic discovered that feelings, though intangible, could be more binding than any written agreement. Their relationship evolved naturally, shaped by shared experiences rather than conditions. They worked together, learned from each other, and supported one another through every challenge. When Alexander helped Sophia secure funding for her foundation, it was no longer a business gesture. It was an act of love. He wanted to see her dreams fulfilled, not because it benefited him, but because her happiness had become his own. The contract that had once defined their relationship became irrelevant, replaced by a deeper understanding that didn't need legal validation. In the end, what began as a temporary solution transformed into a lifelong promise. Alexander and Sophia discovered that true commitment doesn't come from obligation but from choice. The choice to stay, to care, to build something lasting together. Theirs was no longer a business arrangement, but a partnership rooted in love and mutual respect. They realized that the best contracts aren't those written in ink, but those sealed with sincerity and shared purpose. Love, unlike business, doesn't rely on fine print. It thrives on trust, patience, and vulnerability. When Alexander finally told Sophia he loved her, it wasn't a declaration. It was a realization that the contract of their hearts had already been signed long before either of them noticed. That is the kind of agreement no lawyer can write and no time can break.